Come with us now, if you dare, down a rickety staircase into a dank, dark basement. What awaits? The Saturday Night Freak Show.
Hey, thanks for listening to the Saturday Night Freak Show podcast, the movie review and talk show podcast that comes your way every Saturday, whether you're ready for it or not. These are the Internet Radio Superstars.
Holly.
John.
Michaela.
And I'm Colin. And tonight we watched a movie that was chosen by
Colin. What story did you tell us tonight?
A spooky one.
A cold one.
It's because the time has come to tell the tale. Ghost Story from the year 1981. Sorry, I stepped on you there.
Directed by
John Irvin.
Do we know John Irvin?
sounds familiar.
It's possible. So he got this job because have you guys ever seen Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy?
Mm-hmm.
Not the Gary Oldman one.
The original.
Does
The
the other one.
BBC.
Alec Guinness. Yeah. And but this audience might know him because he did Schwarzenegger's Raw Deal.
Oh.
And he also did Next of Kin,
Yeah.
the Patrick Swayze movie.
I was going to say, there's a couple next of kin, isn't there?
The Patrick Swayze one.
It's Patrick Swayze.
With Liam Neeson.
With
was
Liam,
also
okay,
in that.
yeah.
And Hamburger Hill, a couple of movies
Okay,
like,
that
yeah.
one.
Okay.
Action thriller
But it's
drama.
based on a novel by Peter Straub. So I guess a question for the group, like, do we know Peter Straub?
I think we do, and I'm blanking of what I know of his.
Name's not ringing a bell.
The name definitely rings a bell to me. I know. I feel like I know this.
See, this is, I guess, the thing with Peter Straub. To me, I always associate him with Stephen King because they collaborated on The Talisman, right? That was the Stephen King and Peter Straub. And I guess they're in the news. They're going to do another collaboration now because of that one. I think The Talisman... Have anybody read the Dark Tower series?
No.
I've read the first book.
Okay. Because that's like Stephen King
gunslinger.
went like full fantasy
fantasy
Yeah.
stuff.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think the Talisman was maybe like,
And the Man in Black followed.
yeah. But I think the Talisman was kind of something that took him in that direction, his Eyes of the Dragon or something. And then he started doing the Dark Tower series, right? I think. Anyway. So Peter Straub was a horror novelist, contemporary of Stephen King. Wrote Julia. Ghost Story, I think, is probably the most notable thing that he wrote.
Okay. 1979 was Ghost Story, so not too...
Yeah, so it's a novel.
Right, so real quick.
Okay.
Yeah. I read it a while ago. So the question, I guess, is the movie that we watched tonight
Yeah.
anything like the book? And the answer is no, not at all.
Oh, shit.
Oh wow. Okay.
Okay.
And the book was so complicated that it's kind of hard for me to even remember, a lot of it. What I
A lot of
remember,
flashbacks?
it's a lot of ghost stories.
Okay. That would make
I would
sense.
assume.
Yeah, there's a lot of it takes place in this town called Milburn. There's a lot of different characters. Each one of them has like some kind of, thing that happened.
Mm-hmm. So is there a core to the story that they took for this?
I think yes.
Okay.
Because I do remember there's four old guys. There's a young guy comes back. There's a thing that happened in the past, which was pretty much, I think, adapted.
Okay.
But then they threw out like so much of the book. And to my memory, I guess the thing I always, I read it after I saw the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And I was disappointed by it because I liked the movie. And then I went and read the book. And the book, to me, it's not even really a ghost story. It's like about a shape-shifting entity that has existed for a long period of time and assumes these different forms over the course of
Sounds like
the story.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that actually, because, in preparing for this, I was thinking back and I'm like, I think that Peter Straub is a more literary horror author than Stephen King.
More so literature.
Yes.
Okay.
And so I think he was making a literary, like it did, right? Kind of trying to encompass like the history and the form of the ghost story.
Okay.
Right? Like going back, because I was sitting there tonight and I'm like, well, Hawthorne, is a character name, and I'm like, that's Nathaniel Hawthorne.
Yeah.
James is, but I didn't get Jaffrey or Wanderley. I'm like, who are they? But I'm like, so he's naming some of the characters maybe after famous,
So no matter the medium, people just pull them like I'm putting those names. In
Yeah. It's like okay, we're doing
characters named Carpenter and Kruger.
Right. Yeah.
Gotcha.
So there you go. And then this movie was a big budget Universal Pictures release in 1981.
How'd it do?
I think it did okay. I mean, not like maybe a blockbuster kind of thing, but I saw it when I was a kid. You guys were talking about, you watched Funny Farm when you were a kid. You remember Funny Farm? I remember Ghost Story. That was the kind of movies that I remembered. So I guess the notable thing about the movie that we're going to talk about, right, is the cast.
Yeah. Who's in this movie?
Well, who's in this movie?
Fred Astaire.
In a horror movie.
In a horror movie.
Love it.
In his final movie, as it were.
Yeah. And Fred Astaire, you would know from.
I mean, many movies. He's a dancer. He sang too, right? Yeah, he's a singer, dancer, Ginger Rogers. So many movies back in the day. I've watched quite a few of them based on my last job. But yeah, kind of stage and screen and many things.
So I am not like
It's Fred Astaire.
a Fred Astaire, like, I haven't seen many, if any, of his movies, to be honest with you. So he wasn't a director then, right? He was just like a performer, a dance.
He choreographed. He probably directed dance scenes of movies as well. I think they left that up to him.
It was pretty much all him. He did all the choreography.
Yeah, so he directed, it's basically directing those scenes and everything.
I think that's why Fred Astaire is the Fred Astaire, right?
Yeah.
I think he changed the form and established like so much about like movie dance and choreography. I think like he was a genius.
Yeah.
There's legendary stories about him like coming in and doing a dance number in one take and it was perfect.
Yeah.
And I recommend watching some of those old movies. He's great. Like he moves like it's fantastic. And plus even by himself, but him with Ginger Rogers and everything, just a great team, like just wonderful stuff.
And he's like 90 when this movie, I don't know how old he was, but I mean, like all the four main guys that they get here are extremely elderly men.
Yes.
Which
Houseman
I guess
seems to be doing the best.
Yeah.
Yeah, as far as like being, he's old, but he seems like the most like mobile. Maybe like
because you compare him to like Naked Gun Houseman.
Yeah.
You remember he was a driving instructor. It's like okay, that's end of his life.
Right.
Very old Houseman.
He was the narrator in Scrooged too.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
John Houseman.
Wells,
Yeah. I mean, I think, we're going to be talking about these four main guys in the movie are played by actors who like started their careers in the 30s and the 40s, And so this is like toward the end of their career, but like
this was the last movie for a couple of them.
Probably.
Yeah.
I can only imagine. Yeah.
John Houseman, I always remember him from The Fog, John Carpenter's The Fog. He's the guy the fisherman at the beginning who tells the ghost story. But I guess he was famous for The Paper Chase. Anyone? The Paper Chase?
No.
Oscar-winning, very popular movie. He worked with Orson Welles, I guess, with the Mercury Theater.
Yep.
So, you have that history, like going back. Melvin Douglas is in this movie. So he played the doctor.
Okay, you'll have to explain Melvin Douglas because I'm not familiar with him.
I saw One Dark Night, the movie with Boris Karloff, the James Whale movie. He's in that, like in 1930 something.
Jeez. Yeah.
But before this, he was in another horror movie, and it was The Changeling, the one with George C. Scott.
Okay. Yeah.
So he was the senator in the Changeling.
This was his last movie.
That was his last movie. And obviously he had done other significant roles in between there. I am not familiar with his work, but I'm sure that a lot of them ran on Turner Classic Movies, like quite a bit. And Douglas Fairbanks Jr.
Right.
is the other one, and Douglas Fairbanks is like one of the first like swashbucklers.
Right.
And his dad was it wasn't Seahawk, that was Errol Flynn. He was Robin Hood.
Yeah.
I'm drawing a blank. He did like several other like action movies, and then Douglas Fairbanks Jr. I think like had a long career, but again, I'm unfamiliar with his work. But these guys, I think, were like the elder statesmen of the Hollywood studio system.
Scarlet Pimpernel
Zorro.
or something.
Zorro, that's right. Yeah, I knew it was one of the and then to get them all together for this movie is like a kind of a, it's just a big deal that all four of these guys are together in this film, and it's a horror movie.
Is it like getting Martin Landau, Jack Palance, and Donald Pleasance all together in a movie? Is that the equivalent, basically?
Right?
Yeah.
Because that came after this, which might have been inspired by this, because then there's also the House of the Long Shadows, right? That gets Peter Cushing and Christopher Lee and Vincent Price, and was it John Carradine, I think was the other one. I was like, they had all of those in it. So what's Ghost Story about? What is the Ghost Story? Well, okay. I guess before we tell you what the ghost is.
It's a ghost.
Ghost comes in.
It's a lady ghost.
A lady ghost.
You know how it is.
The alternate title, Lady Ghost.
Lady Ghost.
But
I was going to say,
the best thing is that this movie opens with us finding out that there is a secret club of old men that sit around a fire and tell each other ghost stories.
yes.
While sitting in very nice leather furniture,
chairs,
smoking cigars,
surrounded by
drinking
mahogany,
brandy.
drinking brandy.
Rich
Like, it's
mahogany.
perfect.
It's lovely.
It's
I like the way
perfect.
they show up in their tuxedos.
Yeah.
Also nice. Like, just imagine, dear Brailer, us doing that in that room. That's how we do it.
That's how we do this show every week.
I wear a tuxedo every week to this podcast.
Yeah, exactly. We thought it was a little weird the
I know
first
you
couple
can't
months she was
see
doing
it,
it.
but I'm doing it for the listeners.
Right,
They
yes.
can tell in my voice that I'm wearing a tuxedo.
The energy,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
It changes when
yeah.
you wear this.
It's like, I work from home, and if you don't go through the process of like changing into your work clothes, everything kind of blends together.
Yeah,
So I got to change
So
into
she
my
does it for
freak show
sanity.
tuxedo.
Exactly.
I know this is making me feel that we're not like setting the bar high enough, right? I mean, these guys are getting into their fancy dress to sit around, and there's a fire, and they get their snifters of brandy and
Their
cigars.
Cuban cigars.
And we just kind of show up in our hoodies, and
okay, don't break the magic
Yeah.
for 'em.
right. All right. Well, next week.
This is a really nice flannel, Colin.
It looks very warm.
Thank you.
And we have smoked cigars down here.
We have Holly has designated freak show slippers at least.
I
so
do. I have my
you know.
slippers that I leave here.
Yes, it's more about comfort to the point of almost falling asleep.
Yeah.
I've
That's what we're going for.
thought about bringing a blanket.
Yeah.
Not a bad
to
idea.
leave here.
Make a big one and we could share it.
There
you go.
All
On the same
snuggle
side.
under the blanket.
Can we blanket. Can we sew 4 snuggies together
I was gonna say,
and then just gather around the bar?
the listeners don't know this, but we actually watch the movies like the parents from the grandparents from Charlie and the
In a
Chocolate
big
bed. We get in one big bed and sit with our feet opposite each other. That's how we watch the movies in the
And we eat
winter time.
cabbage soup and pieces of bread.
Yes.
Play footsie.
Yeah.
And then when someone on the inside has to go to the bathroom, we all have to get out of the
Yeah.
bed
All
and
get out.
pause the movie. It's a whole thing.
Yeah, my back is constantly
Yeah.
going out, actually.
Yes.
Wow. All right, we're getting too real. Let's get back to Ghost Story, a fantasy.
A movie that takes place in a picturesque
Oh God,
Christmas town or
yeah.
winter
this
town.
town is beautiful.
What did we say, Vermont?
It's
Yeah.
Vermont and
Upstate New York.
Vermont and New York, yeah.
I've been to upstate New York for work, and it does look like Lower Canada. You're like, I don't feel like I'm in the United States right
Yeah.
now. It's so beautiful up there.
That's
I
why
mean,
we're
it does have
up there.
it's like Norman. Are we saying Norman Rockwell
yeah.
or shit? You know,
Thomas Kincaid.
Thomas Kincaid.
Yeah.
Okay.
and a lot of the paintings, I think. So a lot of I think what we're looking
it's
at
exactly what you picture if I say a small New England town.
Yes.
is in the winter.
In the winter, it's exactly what you're going to picture.
Yep.
And I think probably a lot of what we're seeing is they are paintings by Albert Whitlock.
Yeah.
We've talked about him several times before. He
Psycho
worked
2.
on, that was the last episode. He
last
did
one,
The
yeah.
Thing. He did like all of the Alfred Hitchcock movies for Universal, Towering Inferno, all that stuff. Oh, that reminds me. Fred Astaire, right, had his first Best Supporting Actor nomination for The Towering Inferno.
Oh, there we
Oh,
go.
wow.
Oh wow.
Beautiful.
That's one of those movies that has so many people in it. It's like it's a safe bet for bar trivia.
Yeah, I know.
Towering
Yeah.
I've never seen it.
That movie's actually really good.
it
It's
is
like
really
the Die Hard before Die Hard. Not like, I mean, there's a tall building
yeah.
and like,
Building,
yeah. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
I mean, of the disaster movies of that era, I
That's
would
the
rank
one.
the Towering Inferno up there,
It's a good
pretty
one.
high.
Put on the list. Not this.
So picturesque town, Albert Whitlock matte paintings, and what is going
Colin
on?
wanted us to feel the cold. He was
Yes.
like, God, I hope it snowed.
This is a winter movie.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
chilled to the bone.
Looks like a postcard. And so what's going on here? So there's an inciting incident. Well, we meet these guys. They tell ghost stories, right? We've established that, I guess. One of them, I think, involves like a guy who's been buried alive.
That's the first one that we hear. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
And the
pretty good.
scratching on the coffin.
A little bit of screenplay symmetry, right? Like still alive.
Yep.
Alive, and then we're off to New York, where we meet a guy named David Wanderley, and he has
A mustache.
penthouse apartment and a mustache, and a girl in bed with him,
Yeah.
and
a girl laying face down in bed.
Yeah. A girl laying face down, and they're whispering weird things to each other.
Yes.
Not even that. It's like a naked lady wearing face down in your bed going, and he's walking
like,
going, who are you?
Yeah.
Where
It's
did
like,
you come
I
from?
think you should know.
Yeah.
As his tub overflows, like, so, well, we get,
Yeah,
we're-
his bats are overflowing,
Right.
and she's like, you know who I am. Like, it's so
Yeah.
creepy.
It's like a thrust into the middle of this. We're like, what's going on? And then it gets far scarier.
It's, yeah.
Because he walks over to her, and as she, I mean, he's just in a towel.
Yeah.
As he's,
He touches her, and you can tell by the way he touches her that she's cold.
yes, and she slowly turns over.
Yeah, he turns her over.
Yes,
And because we haven't seen her face yet, and when the face is revealed,
it's decomposed.
yeah, it's a melty zombie face.
But like watery.
Yeah.
Like it's like mushy. It's like mushy.
Yeah.
You know?
It's a waterlogged zombie.
Yeah.
and I suppose the water. I was like looking at this time. I'm like, okay, the credits are kind of like water pouring over the moon. So they're
Yeah.
revealing the moon. There's water overflowing in the tub. Later,
Yeah.
there's
Yep.
like water in.
It makes sense now.
Yeah.
But it puts the willies into him.
Yeah, he's so shocked that he backs up through his window.
Yep.
Yes.
Loses the towel,
Yep.
Loses his towel.
Full frontal is
Full
this guy.
Frontal.
which
He actually like walks through his plate glass window.
he does.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like he backs through. It's like, ah. But and then he falls through, and he falls through the skylights of the pool area of his hotel, and
Yeah, the
Right at the
nice,
side of the pole.
good thump right,
Yeah.
right on the.
Falls
You're like, that
like
guy is
naked
dead.
thumb. Now, all I could think of was that this guy, based on the way this was shot, was floundering on a floor naked
Yes.
Yeah,
to get
Yes.
this shot.
yeah. The
Yeah.
process shot isn't very
Yeah.
No,
convincing.
It's bad, but
great.
I
you're
love
so
it.
shocked by the
Yes.
nudity that helps distract from it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because I did not expect
I
full
was
frontal
not-
in this context in this early.
No,
you
I was
know?
not expecting melty face.
Yeah.
Full frontal nudity. Fall and plummets from a window.
Flailing.
like 30 seconds.
Flailing. Yeah,
So
it was
you got-
all
you got-
rapid fire surprises.
Shock.
Yeah.
then,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
guess for the audience of 1981.
Was not
Well, and
expecting
for
that.
you guys, like right off
Yeah.
the jump.
Yeah.
So the actor here is Craig Wasson, who is being planted on the Saturday Night Freak Show Wall of Fame
Really?
with this movie.
Congratulations, sir.
Interesting.
How?
MF Mad, the Saturday Night Freak Show keeper of the wall,
Bless you, sir.
informs us
Yeah.
that, well, I mean, his most famous role to me is he was in A Nightmare on Elm Street 3 Dream Warriors,
Gotcha.
Okay.
right? But he was also in Body Double.
Oh,
He was the lead guy in Body Double, the
Oh.
Brian De Palma movie.
Okay. All right.
Was that before any of us were here?
Oh,
No,
it
no.
might have been.
Yeah.
Was it?
Did you see Body Double? If you haven't
I
seen
don't think
Body
so.
Double, damn it, that's like
I
one
don't
of
think I've
Brian De
seen Body-
Palma's
No, what was the other
best
one we
movies.
saw?
We saw Dressed to Kill.
Dressed to Kill is the one I always mix
Okay,
it up with.
okay.
No, I don't think I've seen Body Double.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The writer of this movie
I love when Colin gets a thought.
is Lawrence D. Cohen, not Larry Cohen.
Right.
Lawrence
yeah.
D. Cohen.
I asked that question to Colin during this. It was like, Lawrence Cohen?
What does that mean?
Oh wait, did we do Nightmare on Elm Street 3 on the show?
Yes.
We did.
Really?
I don't remember doing that.
Well,
That
I
must
don't
have
know.
been-
It might have been
you
before you
were
guys
here.
also.
Yeah, I wasn't here for
Sorry.
that
Which is why I was like, he's on the wall? Like, what?
It's like, we have only seen this movie.
All right. Well, look, you remember him from Nightmare on Elm Street 3.
I haven't seen Nightmare on Elm Street
I don't
3 in a
know.
while.
I don't have a memory of
He's
that
the
movie.
guy in the Nightmare on Elm Street 3.
Oh, no, I don't know. It's been a while. It's been about a good 15 years since I've seen that movie.
Lawrence D. Cohen
Yes.
worked with Brian De Palma.
Hmm.
He wrote Carrie.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
So he adapted a Stephen King novel. Then because of that, he adapted a Peter Straub novel. And then because of that, he adapted another Stephen King novel, and that was It for TV.
Okay.
So the TV miniseries of It was written by Lawrence T. Cohen, and then he did the Tommyknockers.
Okay.
So he has done several
Done some
Stephen
work.
King
I like it.
adaptations.
Making his connections. I like it.
There you go.
Mhm.
So this guy, David, goes out the window,
He
Yeah.
does.
and he is dead. And he is the son of Douglas Fairbanks Jr.
Sure.
Yes.
One of the Chowder members.
Did we
The
establish
Chowder-
that
Chowder
they
Club?
call themselves the Chowder Society?
Yeah.
That's the name of the little club that means.
Sure, because it's New England.
That's why?
Jesus.
I mean, I'm guessing. I don't know.
I think,
Yeah.
well, all right. That makes the most sense.
I was waiting for an explanation and it
Still a
never
bad
came.
name?
So yeah.
Unless the first time they all met, they ate chowder, and they're just like,
Yeah.
we should name it
Wait,
this.
do you think that's how they met? Well, I mean, we know it's not. But alternate
Come over to my
conspiracy.
house for chowder, and then there's like, have I ever told you my ghost story?
I
And
was
then it
more
spirals
thinking
from
they
that.
were at like a deli and they said chowder and they
All
all
at the
reached
same
for it
time.
at the same time.
Well, there's a movie in its own.
So are we doing it wrong? Because we're just a Saturday Night Freak Show. I mean, basically we're doing this, right? But
Yeah,
we're
we
not
are doing this.
the Saturday Night Freak Show
Okay.
Society.
Okay, so
Like, we need to be a secret
we need
society.
tuxedos. We need
Yeah.
soup.
We need
Yeah.
to rename the
Yeah.
podcast.
Yes.
Apparently,
Okay, you
I'm
need
down for tuxes.
you
and
need
soup.
to redecorate the
If-
basement.
Yep.
There's a
Yeah,
burgundy.
we need more
yeah.
leather furniture down here. please.
And a fireplace.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah,
candelabras. I mean, there's a couple of
A
them,
red
but
light
Yeah.
of some sort.
those are the
Right. When
secret
you come
passage
over,
ones.
the power will be off.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
That'll
yeah.
make watching
More
movie a little
candelabras.
difficult,
Yeah.
but wandering around by flashlights
Well, I mean, you
and
can just turn
candelabras.
the lights off. We can
Wander
there
down the
is
basement
there
holding
is
a
pretend.
candelabra.
Yes.
Yeah.
Why is everything wet, Colin?
Oh God, no.
Oh no.
I'm already cold. No.
Can you imagine if Colin did that for like every movie he picked down here? He like got really into it.
An
and
immersive
themed it?
experience.
Right, yeah.
Oh my god. That would
You
be
walk in,
amazing.
you get a bucket of cold water splashed
Based
on
on
you.
the movies that we watch, I would hate that.
So-
Coming soon. You're giving me ideas here. This might be
I was
fun.
gonna say, so would impulse it just be we will always smoking cigarettes really heavily the whole time, maybe having hot
I
dogs.
would move this ring to my pinky, and then we would just all be smoking.
You'd be trying to watch the movie, but there'd be a belly dancer.
Yeah.
Like, like,
Balloons.
Yeah.
Yeah, Holly's just in the corner chewing on her pinky nail.
Yeah.
So
Yelling at some creepy little girl.
Yep.
Yep.
Douglas Fairbanks, then he's the mayor of the small town Melbourne. He summons his other son,
Yes.
Don,
Sure.
They're
who is
twins.
also played by Craig Wasson,
Yes.
to come
Sans
home.
mustache.
Yes, that's how we can
you
tell them
know.
apart.
One has slicked back hair and a mustache. One has free flowing hair and no
It's a
mustache.
really Terry and Todd situation.
Yes. Yeah.
This is the less well-to-do brother. Brother one was,
No,
penthouse
yeah,
apartment.
less well-to-do. He's a college professor.
Right, but he's
There you
like,
go.
Like, he's
and is seen as a
fine.
failure by his father. He's like
The only
Well, he's
reason
an unemployed college.
the only
professor.
reason is because of who he meets when he's a college professor. Someone fucks up his life.
yeah.
If it wasn't for that person or thing, whatever, then he probably would be tenured by now.
All right, so we got so the setting, right? The place. We got these four guys, and they share a secret, which is obvious, right? Each of them, I think, we spend some time seeing their sleep patterns.
They all
sweaty,
have
sweaty
sweaty
and
night
screamy.
terrors. Yeah.
Yeah, except for
Sweaty
John
night terrors.
Houseman, who apparently is an
Sleeps like
insomniac
a rock.
and doesn't sleep.
Oh,
No, he's
Doesn't-
always
he
up.
doesn't
He
sleep, yeah.
paces and he's up all night.
Well, that's because he keeps seeing things.
Maybe.
Maybe.
So, with the brother dead and the other brother returned home, the other brother makes a startling confession to his father.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's
Okay, makes more
What
sense.
possessed him to
like
say
He
this?
said the way he said it.
Read the room, dude.
He's just like, yeah. So my brother died. Also, I had sex with his fiance.
Well, okay. Now it makes
The
more sense
timing.
later on because he's suspicious at that point. That
Yeah.
his brother ended up dead after he met the same woman that he had this whole thing going on with.
Right.
Like, because, based on the circumstances, like maybe she did it to get back at him.
Yeah.
I think
So
it's his suspicion.
he's
at
trying
this
to
point.
break
We
this
just
to
don't
his
get all
dad.
of that until like
Right,
way later,
right.
And so we're left with all these
But the
questions at the
timing of
beginning,
this-
right off.
Yeah,
the bat.
we're all like,
right. Sitting there at a
confused as
nice
hell.
dinner, it's like,
Well,
Dad,
yeah, it's they just had the funeral.
right.
Yeah.
I don't even think
Give
they
him
have.
some-
'cause
yeah,
he's
I
don't
like,
think they did
Your
give
brother's not even in his grave.
Yeah, so let's,
Timing, not good.
read the room, motherfucker. Like, I mean,
Like you're just having a nice roast with some carrots and peas,
Yes.
and that's the way you're going to break it to your dad?
your relationship is already not great with him.
Yeah,
It feels
it's already
like.
very
So
strained.
let's,
Yeah, we know this is on your mind, but like
Yeah.
hold back a little
Yeah.
bit.
Yeah.
Like, reacquaint yourself with your father.
Like your
Their
dad
relationship's
seems
not great.
Your dad
but-
seems pretty disappointed in you. That's what you want to tell him right now?
Right, exactly. You want to give him more reasons to
Right?
reaffirm
There's
his
plenty
belief
of
in you.
things that I don't
the
tell my
preferred son
parents.
is dead, and now
Yeah.
you want to fucking piss him off more?
He is towing real close to saying the wrong kid died a few times
Yeah.
in this movie.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, but that sentiment is there. Yeah.
Yeah,
The
but
wrong one's
he-
in the ground.
I
Yeah.
do like that there is that one scene about the going fishing. We're gonna go fishing. It's like I'd like that. It's like they do kind of.
Yeah.
The movie
But
does.
even then, he's still like, it's a little weird,
Yeah.
but okay.
Yeah, well, he's like, because I think he's like, I'd like that too, but we have this really weird relationship,
Right.
and like I haven't talked to you, we don't get along.
Yep.
The next morning, Dad goes for a walk, snowy winter day. Like I'm not exactly sure
slow
what
chase.
inspired this.
He thinks he's following
David.
Don.
David,
David's the one who died.
yep. He sees him in the snow ahead of him. And
Oh.
he's like, David,
Yeah.
David.
He thinks that's David?
yeah.
Yeah, the dead
Okay.
one.
Because I think you actually see Craig Wasson
Yeah, you see him
walking down the, so he's after him. And he's passed by a mailman who's like, sorry about your loss. So it's like, okay, he's dealing with the fact that, son died. He goes to a bridge.
Mm-hmm.
And on the bridge,
He is scared by a decomposing corpse
yes,
and tumbles backwards to his death onto an icy river.
where he slams onto a piece of ice.
Right.
And he's killed.
Not since Terror Train have we seen someone hit the ice this hard.
Right.
So this movie, at this point, we're like, okay, this
I feel
is
bad for the plow guy. He keeps seeing
He
people
keeps
die.
seeing
Right.
it.
Twice. Yeah, he
They're all gonna
witnesses.
think it's him.
He's gonna be like, "Is it me?
Yeah,
Like, what's happening?"
I
No
like the
wonder
way
he drinks.
that they keep that guy in the movie. Like even for the final reveal, he shows up.
Right.
It's just he's a recognizable.
Like he's going to be a big part of it. He's not,
Yeah.
but
He's gonna be a suspect soon if he keeps doing this.
seriously.
So it's shock effects. This movie's going to be shock, and then a little later shock. That's how it's going for its scares. It employed Dick Smith,
Yes,
makeup man Dick Smith, for its special effects.
doing a great job.
For melty face.
Yes,
How do you know Dick Smith? Because I guess we've talked about Tom Savini and all this at length, and we really haven't done who Dick Smith is, right? Why he is a legend
I'll give
of
because
makeup.
Tell us, Colin. Tell us the story.
I'll
of
look
Dick
up his
Smith.
name just to get the actual credits right. But because these special effects guys, they work on so many things. Like I forget everything they work on between Dick Smith and Kevin Yeager and
Rick Baker and Rob
Yeah.
Bottin. And,
Yeah.
They work on so much stuff.
But Dick Smith is always considered like the guy who started, special makeup effects. That's not really true. I mean, obviously Jack Pierce and all that was doing it back in the 30s, but Dick Smith, I think he got really recognized because he was the first guy who could really pull off a convincing old person makeup, right? Everybody remembers him from Little Big Man, right? The Dustin Hoffman movie where he made Dustin Hoffman old. Prior to that, he had done Dark Shadows and made Barnabas Collins age so he's the old face guy, right?
Okay.
But he did, because he did The Godfather. He did
Exorcist,
work
Taxi
on,
Driver, Scanners, Death
He
Becomes
aged
Her.
Marlon Brando.
yeah. Well, I mean, the whole look of Marlon Brando in
Yeah.
that movie is Dick Smith. But
Yeah.
I think The Exorcist is significant because it's Rick Baker once said that it was because The Exorcist showed that you didn't have to do makeup just to make somebody old or make them, Marlon Brando, turn him, give him a droopy lip and all this other
Yeah.
stuff. It's like you could actually do some kind of fantasy thing with it that
Right.
was very convincing with the bladders and Linda Blair, all that.
Yeah, bubbling faces.
And so that, I guess, inspired the whole 80s, special effects makeup wave. So I guess that's why he's regarded as a legend. I think this is it's not the last thing that he did because he did, old age makeup again in, what was the movie with
Dad.
There you go. Yeah, I mean, so
Jack
he's
Lemmon.
if you're going to do an old, you bring in Dick Smith, but he's credited on House on Haunted Hill as his last movie.
The new one? A new one.
The
1999
99 one.
Yeah.
Because in that movie, there's a scene where this like eyeless woman with a big open mouthful of teeth like swims up and goes, "Ah!"
Yeah.
Yeah.
He designed that for Ghost Story. It was cut out of this movie
what?
and used in House on Haunted Hill,
Wow.
and so he got a credit.
That's fucking crazy because when I was watching this and saw the first photograph of all the four guys standing with her and her face is blurred, it reminds me of the shaking blurred faces from House on Haunted Hill.
Yeah.
That's nuts. Wow.
Didn't we do that on the show?
Yeah.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
did House on Haunted Hill.
That was a Colin pick.
That was me pick.
I don't remember.
I think it was a me pick.
That was a Colin pick.
I don't
I'm
remember.
gonna look it up.
One of us.
I'll bet that painting on it.
Oh,
Oh,
Are you
real
taking
money on
that
the
bet?
table now.
I really want to.
So our old guy goes off and he's dead, and now it's like the Chowder Society begins to say there's something actually happening here that is targeting us.
Yes.
Right?
Because
And
they're all having night terrors at this point.
Do you want the answer to who brought it to the freak show?
Yep.
yes.
Holly.
No! I don't believe you. All right, I was
knew
confused.
it.
I was confused because Colin has the Blu-ray collector's edition. I think
Yeah.
that's why.
You
Damn
probably
it!
watched my version of it, but
Damn.
so there you go.
Wait, how
I'm buying a
how
painting.
long ago was this? Okay, 2019. That was longer than I thought ago. So that was a while ago. I'm surprised. That's why none of us remember. 'Cause it was,
Yeah.
we
I
did
mean,
it
Holly
a while.
remembered.
I remember.
I bow down to you in your memory.
You got to pay for
Bravo.
that painting now.
Now you have to pay for
I guess,
that.
I guess, yeah, now I gotta pay for it. It's gonna have to be an installment plan.
That's fine.
So
So pro.
so I mean at this point, like
Where are we? What,
No, they
what's
all
hap-
realize that
Okay.
they're being targeted at this point,
yeah.
because,
And-
or at least they suspect it, considering what's happening to all of them.
So there's a plot thread here that I'm not entirely sure that the movie lands. Fred Astaire goes to a house. Is it because so wait,
Yeah, because we're confused at this point.
the guy Don goes through his dad's things.
Yeah.
And he finds in an old trunk in the basement a photograph of
Yeah.
the Chowder Society in the 1920s.
Yep.
And there's a woman in the
Yeah,
picture.
standing in front of a house
Yep.
Yes.
with this woman who's it's kind of blurred, but you can kind of see her face.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think Don approaches Fred Astaire, Ricky, right?
He goes to all three of them. They're all together.
But later he goes in to try and buy his way into the Chowder Society, right? Am I wrong?
He does meet with Ricky alone. I
He
can't
meets-
remember if it happens before or after he walks in with them.
And he shows Ricky the picture, and Ricky doesn't say anything, but he's like, obviously something, he knows what's going on.
That's
so Ricky
right,
goes
that's
to
right.
the
Oh, because he
house.
doesn't look at the picture later.
Yeah,
and it's,
'cause-
all right, you're right.
Because then Fred Astaire goes to the group and says he knows.
Mhm.
Right.
Like he has a picture of her. He knows.
And then is that when Fred Astaire goes to the house?
Fred Astaire goes to the house
Yeah.
for this plot
Okay.
thread that kind of like detours. It's in the book. There's
Right.
more to it.
So we need to talk about that
Yeah.
because there
Yeah.
are two characters that we're introduced to that I still don't understand.
Right.
Just
Yeah.
humans who were convinced by a lady that they could live forever. Like she found two, or just
Okay, well, I mean, I get that in principle. So, right, these are we learn escaped mental patients, right? One of them is Gregory Bate.
do we learn this?
Do we learn
Yeah.
this? When do we learn this?
There was a whole APB and the police for he sent the sheriff because they had escaped from a
Oh, is that why the sheriff's?
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay.
he was
Okay.
like reading him the story,
And
and
the-
I clearly
Oh,
wasn't paying
right,
attention.
Yeah,
okay,
the one
so that
guy
was the
was
story
like-
he was reading over the radio
Yeah.
when you said
Oh.
this guy wants the radio
He
show
wants
real
his
bad.
own
Okay.
radio show.
Yeah.
Because he was into that story.
So there's a
You're brilliant. We
Gregory
were talking a little bit during this movie, so we may
Sorry.
have missed a few.
I was
key
in a
details.
mood.
Well, this guy, the guy is was involved with a cult or the occult in California. Was
Uh-huh.
committed, somehow has escaped, and now he's here.
Okay.
And he has a child
Right.
named Fenny or something. Fenny.
Fenny, I don't know.
Yeah.
So there's a feral child.
It is a
also
feral
here.
child.
basically.
Yeah.
And
They're
they're
wearing like a potato sack with dirt smeared on their face. It is the most
Right.
like
I think it was wearing-
stage play
Well,
looking.
'cause-
One of
Yeah.
her old dresses. with
Yeah,
the
because
and everything?
when
Yeah.
we see him, he's wearing like an old dress and like heels.
Yeah, and the hat. He's got the hat.
He's got the hat. Like it's.
I'm pretty sure it's.
But
hers.
it's all dirty.
Yeah, like we
it's all-
find out
yeah.
who's those things belong to,
Yeah.
but it's just very. I don't know their dynamic, but it gives me the heaps.
All right.
And
It's
the
weird.
tone of these characters doesn't really seem to fit with the rest of the
No,
movie.
it doesn't fit.
Like,
It feels very like fantastical. Like
They're
like they're
cartoonish, yeah.
otherworldly, and I don't know. It's just weird.
So in the book,
it
I think
reminds
they
me of like when they like if the ghost came back. It reminds me of like Eddie Bauer from It. A
Yeah.
lot of It connections in this, but it
Yeah.
reminds me of like a ghost controlling Eddie Bauer at a certain point.
Right.
And he's his like earthly tool.
But there, Pennywise controls. Is it Eddie Bauer? Is that his name?
No.
That doesn't sound right. It's Eddie something, right?
That's a clothing.
Oh crap!
Henry Bauer.
Henry Bowers.
Henry Bowers.
Bowers. There you go.
Henry Bauer. Sorry.
Right.
You're right.
It
but
does feel
it's
like
close.
that.
I always do that with that name.
But that one makes
Henry Bauer.
sense because in that case there was something that Pennywise couldn't do, so he has to recruit
Right.
this, human, an influence, someone he can influence
Yes.
to do
Physical realm.
something.
Yeah.
What did these characters do that the ghost couldn't do on her own?
Right.
It's like she's using them to maneuver them into place without revealing.
Yeah,
because
is
she
it-
wants to monologue at the end.
Yeah. Is it just because like all the other characters would recognize her, so she needs people that they wouldn't
But
recognize? Like,
otherwise Ricky would have gone to the house and it's like a creepy house, or you cut that scene out. Like there's
Yeah.
nothing
you
that
could have
is
cut that
gained
scene
from
out.
that.
Yeah. Like I don't understand.
No,
these
we
characters.
don't need them
Yeah.
particularly.
I think that's actually this is the moment or the plot thread that's I have the biggest problem with in
Yeah.
this movie because it's unnecessary and they don't add anything other than they're creepy. They show up in Don's house later.
right. The kid, we don't know what happens. He's just gone
He's
at a certain
just
Yeah.
point. The other guy
feral.
gets in a car accident. We don't know what happens to him after the car flips.
Well, the kid shows up in the car.
Was he in the car?
Yeah, the
Yeah.
kids
They're
are
all in the car. Yeah.
Sears'
It's fucking
car,
weird.
John Houseman's car. So it's like they are extensions of the ghost. Like, they have been promised, like you said, eternal life by the
Right.
ghost. And they're doing, getting the place ready for her or something, but it doesn't really pay off, and it's
No.
kind of a
No.
weak link.
Yeah.
It's the weakest link of the whole thing, and it doesn't need to be there.
There was more about it in the book because I remember the doctor had actually like treated a kid like I think the spirit, the shape shifting thing like became
Like a former
that-
patient of his. Or
Yeah.
something. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and unless it was explicitly explained that there was something that she couldn't do because because there is a ghost and the ghost can't do something that they needed them, then I'd understand it. But that is not in this story.
Yeah, it's not there. So we have a third victim, and that is the doctor. That's Melvin Douglas's character.
Yeah.
I think they are. Oh no! Well, this is after we lay out Don's connection to the Chowder Society.
Right.
He
Yes.
buys his way into the club.
It's like I have a ghost story.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what's his story?
Florida. 2 weeks in a row, we're going to Florida.
Yeah.
Less Shatner.
Yeah,
this one
he's a professor at a small college in Florida. Just a small. He teaches literature, and upon starting his work there, he meets like one of the dean's assistant,
Yes.
And her
Um,
name is Alma Mobley.
Alma. Yeah.
Alma Mobley.
And this is Alice Krieger.
Yeah.
Plays this character. Not her first movie. She had been in Chariots of Fire prior to this.
Okay.
Oh, she
She
was in
always
Chariots of Fire.
Playing a creepy lady.
She's good at it.
She's good at it.
Yeah.
Very good.
I mean,
Not always, because we have put her on the Saturday Night Freak Show Wall of Fame with this movie.
What?
Star Trek.
Sleepwalkers.
No.
It was
Sleepwalkers.
for Sleepwalkers.
She's a
We did
creepy lady.
Sleepwalkers.
She's the ultimate creepy lady.
She's
in
so
Sleepwalkers.
creepy in
Yeah.
Sleepwalkers.
And we did. She wasn't creepy in Rain of Fire. Anyone remember?
Oh,
She's the one who
wow.
like found the dragons.
Two
and
dragons.
She got
Yeah.
killed like 30 seconds into the movie, if I remember. Sorry, it's a spoiler. Jesus, I just ruined it.
Oh, shit.
And for Ghost Story, but I mean, you'd also know her.
She's the Borg Queen.
She's
Yeah.
the Borg Queen in Star Trek. She was recently in Gretel and Hansel. I
Yeah,
mean, she's
yeah.
still working, but a lot of times in like
Is she the witch in that?
yes,
Yes.
She got the
What
face
else
for
would
it.
she be? Yeah.
Shocking.
she has. I
Not
guess
Gretel.
is she perfect casting for this part?
She's,
Yeah, I think so.
She's
For
just
this part, I think she's doing very good.
She's naturally creepy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very easy.
She
for her
didn't
to play
choose that.
creepy.
It chose her.
No, yeah,
yeah.
it's very easy for her to play creepy.
Yeah.
And
or to play that there's something amiss.
Yeah.
There's something
She just
otherworldly
feels,
about her.
Yeah, and she doesn't blink. I noticed that she never blinks.
She can just make her face go so blank.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's creepy.
So he meets this girl and begins a torrid affair.
He's like, he sees her in the hallway at school as he's walking with his current girlfriend, and he immediately is like, all right, I'll see you later, babe. I'm gonna go see who that is.
Yeah.
She's like, will you call me later? He's like, okay. And then he like walks into the next room, and he was
call me
like,
later? Fine.
he's like, hey, do you want to go out with me tonight? Like, it's very quick.
Yeah.
How did we forget already that she was in the new Texas Chainsaw movie that came out like 2 years ago?
Oh shit, she was the mom. Wasn't she the mom?
Lady again.
In the new Texas Chainsaw. I like that movie.
I liked it. I had fun.
We're divided on that. It's half and half.
Yeah.
It's half and half.
It was fun.
That's
There you
okay.
go.
That's okay.
So he begins this very physical affair with
With a walking red flag.
why is she a red flag?
Because everything she does is creepy and weird.
Like
She doesn't share anything about herself other than her name.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. Everything
Yeah.
else is like vague non-answers, and then she turns it
Yeah.
back to you. Well, what about you?
Yeah.
I want to know everything about you.
Yeah.
and specifically, where are you from?
Yeah.
What town are you from? I'd like to meet your family and your dad and his friends. You know, so
And then there's certain conversation. I mean, weird things happen. She gets the water incident in the bathtub.
what happens?
Like, well, I mean, they're fooling around in the bathtub,
Yeah.
and then at a certain point, he like pulls her feet, and so she goes underwater a little bit, stays under there a little too long. But when she comes up,
She just like screams in his face.
right, but again with the not blinking thing, her eyes are just red
Yeah.
and water shot as she just screams at him.
And then there's lots of like night terror situations where she's just like awake and screaming and wide eyed.
Or he wakes up in the night and she's just staring at him.
Yeah.
She's also
Staring
got
out the
this-
window.
Yeah, she naked most of the time. She's got this fascination with getting married to him, but like getting married in the town of Milburn. It's like, I want your father to be there. I want
the
all his
church.
friends to be there in that church. And I
The
want the
same
whole
church.
town to be there. It's like, oh,
Like, I want to wear my white dress. I want it to be the same church, and I want everyone to be. That's like, dude,
Yeah. And they've
What?
known each other for,
like 2 weeks.
not long.
Yeah,
It
it's
doesn't seem like
bananas.
it's very long.
It's bananas.
There was something that occurred to me tonight that I'm not sure. I'm going to run this by you. I don't know if this is there is a point in time where he wakes up. She's standing naked at the window, turns around and is like, "I'm going to show you sights undreamed of.
Yeah.
You're going to see things that blah blah
Take
blah."
you places you've never been.
And I'm
Yeah.
going to, drain,
Take you places
watch
you've
the life
Life
drain
drain from
out of you. And it's
Yeah.
played
Major red flag.
like she's sleepwalking, and he's like, "What the holy fuck?" And then
Yeah.
after that, he's like, I don't really want to get married. But I guess the question I have is this trying to do some kind of like time thing where the scene that happens at the end, she's experiencing like back then in his past, and
Yeah.
it's like ghost, that he's telling the story, but like that's actually her doing it
Yeah.
in
She
the
is-
view, because she's
she
not.
has transcended time and space.
Yes.
right.
Yeah.
She is at all
Yeah.
places and all times.
I wonder if that's what they were trying to.
I mean, maybe.
Because I remember in the book, there's a scene that stuck with me that I think it was the first time I ever saw it done. And then the It Chapter 2 movie like ripped it off, because I don't remember it being in the It book, where 3 characters go through 3 doors in a house and end up seeing, or go through a door and end up in
Oh,
3
yeah.
different
Right.
places. That's from Ghost Story. And
Oh, okay.
they stole it, I think, for It Chapter 2,
Okay.
because I don't recall that happening in the It book, but that actually, it's Ghost Story.
But
So
I like how melodramatic she is, because she's just like, they go back to their town in Florida, and he's like, yeah, I don't think I want to get married right away. And she's like, well, how long do we wait? He's like, I don't know if we're gonna get married ever. And then she's just like, well, fine, I guess I just won't exist then. And she's just gone.
Yeah. She's like, I'm not wasting any more of my time. Then I'm on a
Gone.
mission. You're
Yeah.
in my way
She's
now.
literally
Yeah.
like, all of her stuff is gone. She's just like, I don't exist anymore.
And then
Bye.
you just wonder, because he comes back to the house and it's all gone. It's like, was it ever there?
It was because the other people have noticed her.
Yeah, she like
So
had
she
a
was
job
there.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I
This
wanted,
ghost was making money.
Yeah. Which they're like meet cute or whatever. I don't know. They
wanna
have
see
sex
her-
in the bathroom
right?
at their job.
Yeah, I want to see her job interview.
Yeah. 'Cause, she was doing that creepy smile the whole time.
She's like, I have years of experience.
So he gets fired. I think that's basically the outcome of
right.
screwing in the bathroom.
They're like, we noticed you left your birth date off your resume, and they're like, when's your date of birth? February 13th. What year? Every year.
Every year. That's like in Big. It's like, what school did you go to? You left a couple of letters off there. It's like George Washington, OGW. Oh, just let them fill in the information. Don't give away too much.
So I believe the next thing that happens is he gets a call from his brother. He calls his brother.
Yeah, he calls his brother.
Right, yeah, because she has left. Yeah, he calls his brother.
And his brother's got some news for him.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I've been seeing someone who thought I was you.
Yeah, I was walking down the street the other day, and someone shouted your name. And
now we're fucking.
Right. So apparently she knows you. And it's a conversation. It's
a weird conversation.
It is, because it's like, she says that you don't, because a lot has been talked about between her and the brother that we don't even see. And he says things like, you don't, like, she says you don't know her, and that wasn't
You got the wrong idea about her.
Yeah.
She's not the woman you think she is.
Yeah.
And you're just like, what? It's like, what story did she tell him?
And he's like, you got to get away from her. She's dangerous. You know, when you touch her, she's cold, which links back to the beginning.
She doesn't exist. She's not real.
Yep. And so his brother hangs up on him, and we know what happened to his brother. So this story buys him into the Chowder Society, and they are finally, well, I don't think they're ready to, do they admit it then? Because I remember the doctor, like, please, somebody listen to me. I want to talk about this. It's been eating me up.
Right. Is that when we get the extensive flashback of what happened?
No, not yet, because there's another victim.
Yeah. Because Houseman's like, no, I'm not buying this. This isn't the same person. True. You didn't see a ghost.
Oh, he shows him the picture.
He shows him the picture, and he's like, no, I don't believe you. But Fred Astaire is like, no, I'm with you, kid.
Yep. There's something going on here. There's something we feel something following us.
And the other one,
the doctor is freaking out.
He's just having a meltdown.
Please listen to me. God
He's just having a meltdown.
He really is.
Well, the poor doctor.
Billy keeps coming in. And
He strangles her in the night.
Poor Billy.
Because he thinks, she had no pulse. She moved. No pulse.
Yep, that's exactly it.
He says over and over again, and strangles his housemaid in the night. So he's a doctor. He has like a practice, I guess, that takes place in his house.
But doesn't see patients.
But one morning, there's a woman in black there, and it's like, well, it's her. She's it's Alma. Yeah. She's there.
This is our best look of her in the present time of this story, I think. So before she was obscured by just blurriness.
I kind of like how they did that. It's like you never really see her clearly.
I like it
because you want to know what's going on.
We see several nightmares. Her in the church getting married, and I think when she throws back the veil, it cuts away, and we never actually see her face.
Yeah, you just see their shocked faces.
Yep.
Yeah.
So the doctor has a heart attack. Mm-hmm. His medication has mysteriously vanished. So has the woman who was there to see him.
Right.
And then he is surprised at his medicine cabinet by another decomposing corpse. Shock.
Yeah.
And he is dead. Yep. And so now with him being dead, there's, two of the Chowder Society are down. Yeah. 2 or 3? 2 are down.
2 down, 2 to go.
So just John Houseman and Fred Astaire are left. And so they're like, okay, fine.
They're like, all right, we will tell you the story.
I like John Houseman and like Eva Galley. There I said it.
He gets like
and Fred Astaire's just like, yep, you did.
John Houseman hung out with Orson Welles a lot. You can tell just by that dramatic delivery that they share.
Swirling his brandy.
Right, his snifter of brandy is like, I finally said it after all these years.
I've said it. And then we get the origin story.
Right. So who is Eva Galley? This is where you have the budget of Universal Pictures backing you up so you can recreate 1920s era Milburn, right?
Yeah.
They got the horse.
An idyllic time.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. A time when friends would all court the same girl.
Okay, I need historical context for this.
We need to unpack.
Because it was so distracting the whole time. Like she's clearly courting 4 guys at once, and they're all down with it. Like
Yeah.
they all go
I
away
think
to this house together for the weekend.
Right. I think it's under the guise of quote unquote friendship, maybe, but
Yeah.
they all know. I think they all know what's going on. That they're all competing for her.
Yeah.
That's what it feels like. They are smitten. Like you
Yeah.
get the
Smitten right
impression
off the bat, yes.
impression that like the entire town talks about this new resident, right? She is a woman of means.
The new school teacher
Right.
arrives today. Have you seen
Yeah.
it? No, I hear she's a plain old thing. Oh my lord!
So-
they all go nuts.
Yeah.
All the women resent her. All the guys want to be with her.
Like a performance is like a quartet is playing music, and like the elite of the town is there, and they're like all talking about this new woman. They're like, I believe she's rich.
No,
Yes, I do believe she has money.
She's rich. It's just like shut up.
I
They're all
do
very
believe
loud.
she has money. Like,
Right.
it's
Just gossip.
and she's
all
just
over
like,
the
what the fuck? I hear you talking about
Right,
me.
but she turns with a little coy smile. You see that side of her face? She's like, I do. I have.
I
all.
do have money. Old money.
So what is it? I mean, so that I guess is the thing. Is there courtship going on? They are infatuated with this woman,
They are indeed.
and
She
she's
doesn't lift
okay
a
with
finger.
hanging out with them.
Yeah.
She doesn't lift a finger around them. Like,
This-
she
Can I
she
carry your
tries to
packages?
fuck
What
the
about
one
your
guy.
purse? I'll show you the way. Take my
I
arm.
realize most of our listeners probably will not understand this analogy, but I had to share it with Michaela.
Yeah.
It is absolutely the same as Gilmore Girls with the Life and Death Brigade.
Yeah.
Okay, so
like
what is
she
this from
she
the-
is Rory, and one of them is Logan, and then the other three are Logan's Life and Death Brigade friends. How they all used to like fawn over Rory
Mhm.
and were like all obsessed with her, even though she was with Logan. Like it's the same situation.
But
So what-
you're bearing the lead here. Is that so? This is like one of those yuppie secret societies
Yes.
that exist for college people, like
Like
George
Skull and Bones.
Skull and
Yeah,
Bones, like
yeah,
George
yeah.
W. Bush was in. But like the thing in the show is they dress up in 1920s clothes to do their events.
They wear like the costumes
Yeah,
from this
okay.
movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they
So
have
they're wearing
like
barbershop quartet.
Yes,
they
hats
do.
and-
Yes.
The hats. Like,
This is how rich people have fun in
have-
college.
I'm gonna-
They have
Apparently,
canes that they swing
Yes,
around.
they do.
No, okay, I
Yes.
gotcha.
and then they do this most bullshit, stupid ass stunt ever, where they pretend to like jump with umbrellas off like a significant height, but
Like
they're
you
just
do.
like rigged up, like and like
So they can float down.
yeah,
they
exactly.
like play polo.
Yeah.
where they're like carrying each other. And
Yes.
those, I don't
It's
know.
so
what you call them.
stupid.
Like, what the fuck you call those things? Like the
A wheelbarrow?
no.
You're making the
No, not
hand
that.
motions like a wheelbarrow.
I know.
It's like a wheel.
And it's
Like,
like-
this is wheelbarrow.
like those walking chariot things that people were carried around in. Like,
Oh, the
during
rickshaws?
Roman,
A rickshaw,
Yeah.
Like,
okay.
like during Roman times
Yeah.
where they weren't wheels, they were just carried by people.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
That's basically
Before you had a horse.
Yeah.
They're carrying those and like playing polo. Like
Yeah.
it's the dumbest fucking thing.
It's how rich people waste their money in college.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So these guys so they're all like 20-year-old virgins.
Yes.
And she seems to take a shine to what would be Donnie's dad,
Mm-hmm.
the mayor,
The mayor.
which was Douglas Fairbanks Jr. as an old man. And they have
They can
I
see
guess-
this at a certain point when they're
Yeah.
chasing around and throwing her hat around and having all the fun.
yeah.
And, they end up, he ends up tackling her onto the picnic blanket and what so have you. And, the other three kind of realize they're like, he's won. That's exactly it.
Yeah.
Pants, boots, and all.
Oh wow. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
That
That's
would be
why I
it.
was like,
Yeah.
Amy Palladino has absolutely seen this
She's
movie.
seen this movie.
Absolutely.
But again, they concede that he has won, and so they're all going to go for a walk. But he doesn't necessarily want to accept it because I think
I read that as like fear.
Oh,
I
definitely
think
fear.
it's like he's like a virgin, and she comes off as a very worldly. Is not the?
Yeah, I'd
she's
say
very
worldly.
Worldly,
Yeah.
forward. She's aware of what she wants and who
Yeah.
she is, and they are not.
They are children.
They're 20-year-old children.
Yeah, they're from this small town. She's clearly from somewhere across the pond.
Yeah.
And she's got money. She's traveled the world. She's seen things.
Yeah.
Right.
And they're just, college kids in this small town.
Yeah.
they have not explored the outer world like she
Right.
has at this point. So yeah, fear.
But eventually they do like have sex.
Do they?
Oh, do they?
Do
No.
that because they meet.
No.
There's that one scene where as soon as it popped up, I'm like, I know what that is. We've seen this in movies before.
Yeah.
Like, there's only one reason the woman's just laying in bed with
That
the
happens
look on her
to a lot of
face, and the
guys.
man's just hunched over the side of the bed.
Yeah.
And just like,
He's
it
in it,
happens
yeah.
to everyone, darling. Don't worry.
And
Yeah.
as if that's not bad enough, the window's open and his three friends start singing.
Yeah,
That's not helping anybody in
No,
this situation.
this guy's taking it pretty well. I would have stuck my head on and be like, fuck.
Shut the fuck up. Yeah.
But they all get drunk, and then they want to know the details because none of them the mysteries
from this
of women.
point on, I hate the rest of this. I mean,
I was like this whole flashback kind of brought me to a halt in this movie. It's actually really irritating, and it goes on for a long time.
This is
They are the most irritating drunks.
they're the worst.
But this is the moment that like makes the movie. Like this is the stuff that like sticks with you, and you're like, I remember Ghost Story because I guess the origin of the ghost. You know, it's like it because it's a crime.
It can't be good. Yeah, right.
The crime itself you remember, and then you're like, you know, as far as an origin for a ghost, I thought it was like pretty good because it's bad and then it gets even worse. You want to what?
I wanted more from it.
Was this inspired by the Chappaquiddick incident? This is like this is what Ted Kennedy how he allegedly killed that woman. Like drunk driving her into a lake. She was still alive in the car, and he let it sink to the bottom, and she died.
Jesus.
Like
they use this in
maybe.
I mean, movie.
79. You said
well.
that the novel's written.
Yes, it happened in '69. So
influence.
I guess that's I mean that is the horror. Like the horror of it is they all like it's like they're drunk and they're like we want to dance with her too, and
I feel like this whole scenario went on way too long.
Yeah,
they could have cut a lot of it out.
I mean, this movie is almost 2 hours.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It's like there's certain. Yeah, there is tightening up that could have been done.
Well, during it, I guess that the as she's about to reveal Edward's impotence, he tackles her.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
She bangs her head on
first into a fireplace.
Marble fireplace, yeah.
And the guy who will become the doctor is like, "Oh my God, you've killed her. I'm checking. She has no pulse, right?
Did he check and say she had no pulse?
He was the one who was there.
Bad
like
doctor.
he's like checking her all over the place, like she's dead. And they're like,
no, he's like grabbing her breasts. I feel no pulse. She's dead. I swear.
So the John Houseman character is like, all of our lives will be ruined. We just have to, put her in a car.
Yeah, now we're in I Know What You Did Last Summer
and drive her into the lake, and they do. And as they're standing there,
typical rich white
college boys. It really is.
This plan
really
never works. This plan
never works.
I had my whole life ahead of me. I can't ruin it on one person.
Yep.
Fucking hell.
But it turns out she's still alive. Like she wakes up as she's being submerged, and they killed her. They drowned her.
Yep.
So that's the horrifying story that has the secret, the guilt that has bound these guys together.
That's why she's a waterlogged melty ghost.
Yep.
Yeah. And like she makes eye contact with them when she's going.
Yeah. It's a good scene.
Yeah.
Like I don't think there's any way all four of them make it to how old they are. Somebody kills themselves at a certain point based on the guilt.
That's how it happened. That's how it happened in It, So yeah, that's true. But I guess there's less of them in this one than there is in It. So you can't afford to take one out. I guess
she locks eyes with you. Just before she,
right.
And somehow they're dealing with this by telling themselves, meeting every week to tell themselves scary stories. Like that's
their therapy.
Part of it. That's their therapy.
Yeah.
We're going to scare each other. Maybe it's going to be the story we come up with is scarier than the thing we actually lived. We'll never talk about it again.
Yeah.
But we're just going to tell ourselves ghost stories all the time.
I kind of get what you guys are saying, though. Like, there should have been a little bit more of we all have this agreement. If any of you break it, like, this is the consequence. Because it kind of seems like their way of dealing with it is just never talking about it again. It's like, so you all are putting a lot of faith in each other that someone, not one person's going to fuck up,
Yeah, you would think that, like...
they lived a long time.
Or if there was like a flashback where somebody's faltering.
Yeah.
Where they're just like, I can't do it. I have to tell someone.
Right.
And the other one slaps them around a little bit or something. And it's like, you won't tell anybody shit.
Right.
Like something like that, just to, like
it would have been
more
the doctor.
friction between them. It seems too easy that they've kept this secret for so many years.
Yeah, because they're elderly now, and then it's like, okay.
Yeah. Where's she been?
They lived a long, nice life.
Like they got away with it.
Yeah, they did.
Because they all die when they're so fucking old. It's just like it didn't matter at a certain point if they do get knocked off at this point.
Right.
Because they lived.
I was thinking that, right? It's like, well, they're old men being killed by a ghost.
They got away with it, essentially.
So why is she coming after them now and not 20 years ago? This happened 50 years ago.
They even make mention of it. It's like, it's too bad we weren't 30 when this happened instead of 20. We're dead by now.
Well, they were saying if they were, I think
they would have had
that,
better sense.
Yeah, they wouldn't have been stupid and, gone over to her house and all that.
Yeah.
Gregory Bate, the character we're saying, is erroneous to the plot. Does say something, or somebody says, maybe it's Craig Wasson, the forces have been collecting like a battery, you know, like growing in strength with the, all
maybe it's
the
stronger
nightmares.
now. I think, he does mention that, doesn't he?
But why?
Yeah, it would, like 3 years earlier, nothing has changed. Maybe even 10 years earlier, nothing is completely different. Like, why did she? Why is the opportunity? Because she's obviously going after.
This isn't even like the anniversary of it happening.
No, and she's
it happened
obviously
in the summer.
like going after. She's gone after the son. She's going after Donnie to ruin it. Like as because his father
and
did
somehow
something.
that would bring her back to the town.
Right.
She wants revenge on the whole town for the way they treated her.
Right.
Being snooty to her. So she wants to destroy the entire town, is what I get. But like that never really pays off in the movie.
Yeah, it's like there is a question of why this specific time to do this.
Yeah,
if you want your revenge as a ghost.
Well, I guess so they're like, okay, fine, we're going to do something about it. We're going to go to her house. There's confrontations with the Gregory Bate character because he's human. We got to kill him. We have to there's the child. Well, there's this whole thing. Craig Wasson breaks his leg.
Yeah.
John Houseman has to go for help. He's killed. He sees the ghost like standing in the road and goes off the road. And the kid kills him. And so it's Fred Astaire goes for help, kills Gregory Bate, and he's like, you know what? I think because of some of the dialogue, like she's still alive.
Yeah,
down at the bottom of that lake.
Yeah.
And so Fred Astaire's like, we're gonna drag her up, which I love the idea that you're going to the cops in the middle of the night and going like, so sheriff.
So 50 years ago.
Right. The speed at which this occurs, unbelievable. At which they're to get a crane that will pull first of all, to find the car 50 whatever years later.
It's right there. It's right there.
That is literally what it is. Like, hey, I can still see it. Like it's almost like part of it was still sticking out of the water to find it this quickly.
Granted, it's a pond. There's no flow.
Yeah,
that's very true. You're very true. It's not going
a frozen
anywhere.
pond. So
that is very true.
So you get the scene with like all the first responder apparatus. Like,
hurry, go faster. And it's just like, what do you have, a feeling? Because there's no reason to say hurry, go faster unless you know what's happening back at the house.
What's happening at the house?
Don is about like Alma or / Eva is coming for him. She's coming down the stairs.
In her wedding dress.
Because this is what she wanted. This is what she wanted.
She's so dramatic.
So dramatic. This is a very dramatic ghost.
Drain out of you. That's repeated.
Yeah. The walls.
She's had 50 years to plot this, apparently.
That's
so.
right.
And I don't think it took 50 years to plot it. It shouldn't have. But like the walls start leaking, the water, like everything keeps like it's like coming together to this moment. Very theatrical. Again, very dramatic. She's got a taste for the theatrical. So we're cross cutting between pulling the car out of there and figuring out what's going on, and Dawn about to be a corpse bride, basically.
Yeah.
and they pull it out, and Fred Astaire is trying to get the door open as they pull it out, and he gets it open, and this is an extremely creepy scene. Like, this got me, like, between the makeup and what was going on. Like, he jars open the door, and it's like she's reaching for him in a last gasp and everything, but it's like the corpse has finally been freed and is just the melty corpse, the watery melty corpse, which is great. This is
great.
Like, ugh.
Yeah, what's left of the flesh is like melting off, like falling off.
Well, as soon as she hits like air, because she tumbles out, she like reaches out, and then falls on the ground.
And just plops.
Yeah,
like,
this whole
so
part is just so gross.
Yeah, the eyeballs
sink into the
gross.
skull.
Oh, that's real good.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's gooey. I mean, not like overdone gooey.
No,
but
it makes sense.
Yeah.
It makes sense to like a body that's been in the lake.
It's impressive for 81.
Yeah. And that like sets her free, I guess, or whatever. Ends her reign. She disappears from threatening Craig Wasson, and the sun comes up once again in Milburn, and the curse has been lifted.
I don't think Fred Astaire should have lived.
I'm glad he lived. I liked
only because we like
Fred
him
Astaire too, and because when you look back at the flashbacks and everything, like it's almost like he's too drunk to be participating in what happens to her. Kind of. I thought about that because I mean, when I saw this originally as a child, I'm like, well, the one guy runs out there and tries to help her, or whatever, but it's like they're all complicit. It's like Fred Astaire's going to jail. Like he lives to go to spend the rest of his life in prison. It's like they killed this woman.
It's a small town. He's not going anywhere.
He'll tap that.
Well, I don't know. There was. I was watching The Sheriff in that one shot where they're all standing there looking at like, oh my God, this is a dead body. The sheriff turns and looks at Fred Astaire, and I'm like, okay, that might be just that cut of him looking over. It's like, that he's cooked. I mean
maybe
he's got to pay for what he did.
I think this late on, how old he is, I think he could put it off as an accident, and he gets away with it.
Because he didn't actually do it, I suppose.
Yeah, and there's that.
I'd say so.
There's that scene before he leaves, and he's talking to his wife, who's played by Patricia Neal, by the way.
Breakfast at Tiffany's.
And HUD. I love Patricia Neal. She's fantastic. But he says, when I come back, we're going to go on that trip, and I'm going to tell you all about my life. I'm going to take you to the south of France. Yep. So I think they look the other way while he flees the country.
Oh, there you go.
Because he's an old man, and they're just like, get out of here. Go. Yeah, that's what I think.
Because there is this thing that they set up that, like, Eva Galley, like, no one ever came looking for her.
Yeah.
Right.
And they're like, because even John Houseman is saying it was weird.
She was like a ghost before she was a ghost.
Yeah, it's like it was like it never happened, and we were able to go on with our lives, and that was the end of it. It was like we dreamed it,
Yeah.
Yeah.
We should get a little post-credits thing where it's just like she shows up again to infatuate a whole new group of men, and this cycle keeps repeating.
Oh, I'd like that. If it was made nowadays,
if she was just a constant ghost who just kept doing this.
The book, it does keep going. After they defeat her, she reappears as a little girl.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
And a wasp
that's weird.
at one point, which is kind of weird, but okay.
A wasp?
It's a shapeshifter. I think it's a Manitou.
Colin just did a gesture of like, you can't put this on me. Like, just don't shoot the
Colin's
messenger.
just like, hey, I didn't write the book.
Yeah.
I just read it, and this
Don't
is
shoot the messenger.
No, it's
more
like Greta
complicated.
with the killer wasp that comes around.
that was Colin's I can't even face. We're not doing that.
Yeah.
No, what I want to say about the score of this movie, like especially because the ending of it, and the cross cutting of it, it would be today. This movie's made far more dramatic, upbeat tempo. It would be like they'd be going for terrifying, like because she's coming for Don, and they're pulling the thing, and there'd be a ticking clock on the end of this thing. It's more of a effervescent, lighter type of thing. There is drama there, and it is dramatic, but it's not played. It's played slower for it. I like it.
Yeah,
it's because it's a different kind of filmmaking.
Philippe Sardé, I think, is the composer, but I mean, it's like a big orchestral.
Yes.
Back when they did, it's like classical music,
right,
for your movie score. It's pretty good.
You're more supposed to be feeling the emotion of it kind of coming to an end at this point, rather than the ticking clock of it all. So the differences between this movie and what would be made now, very interesting. And there it is.
All right, well, okay. Yeah, I got further thoughts, but I guess we'll save that for the wrap up.
Oh, there you go.
So thank you for sticking with us through Ghost Story. We are going to tell you what we thought of it, but first we want to know what you thought of it. If you wrote in, we're going to read some of your mail. In order to do that, we're going to have to summon our mailman. His name is Igor. Bring us the mail.
Masters, the mail. I've got the mail. So many letters. Our followers are rising.
Why, thank you, Igor.
Can we get a 4-person clap at some point? I would like that.
Oh,
okay.
We just all call him. I don't know why.
We could do that.
Yeah.
It'd be fun.
We just have to time it well, other's it'll sound like shit if we stagger it.
This is all my scheme to get us all to do it, so that when he kills me or starts killing people for ruling him or clapping for him, or something, like he goes for all of us and not just me.
Oh, okay.
Well,
gotcha.
I mean, I do it when you're not here.
Right.
Yeah.
So he would come for me.
Right.
Yeah.
No, but I want everyone to die.
This is going to be like a Saturday Night Freak Show deep cut on the trivia that you guys are having at the local bar, because it's Sean. Sean calls Igor every week.
Yes.
Unless Sean's not here, then it's out.
The magic has been deferred to Holly. Yes.
Well, we should let the
We're
good
his parents.
Yeah, basically.
Well, I'll tell you what. How can these listeners get a hold of us at home for this interactive portion of our show? On Facebook?
Facebook.com/SaturdayNightFreakShow.
On X?
At Sat Freak Show.
By email?
SaturdayNightFreakShow@yahoo.com.
Or on Threads and Instagram at Saturday Night Freak Show. About tonight's movie, Ghost Story. Scotty Peddle says, no question, but some of the scenes in the movie are perfect. This movie had me terrified the first time I saw it.
Yeah. There's some good ones in there.
Michael Whitaker says, I might have gone the rest of my life without knowing Fred Astaire was in a horror movie, so thank you for that. In fact, the entire leading cast, including Douglas Fairbanks Jr., are all faces I recognize from old movies my dad would watch on Turner Classic Movies. There you go.
There you go.
Sobi Detura says, hey, Saturday Night Freak Show gang, does anyone on the show have any encounters with ghosts they'd be willing to share with the podcast? If so, I want to hear them.
Ooh, encounters with
I
ghosts.
do.
Do you?
Go for it.
My parents.
Can you tell a ghost story tonight?
Do you want me to?
Yes. Oh, yeah, I'd love to.
Oh.
I'd love to hear this.
I don't have one. Anybody else have
I
one?
got like a short one.
Yeah, I got some short
Okay,
ones.
well, here we go. Ooh, some tuxes on, snifter, cigar.
Yes.
So the house that I lived in from age like 12 to 19, something like that, a lot of really weird stuff happened there.
I know you've told us this. I just don't know if you've said it on the air.
Yeah, I don't
because
think
I know
so.
I've heard you. Actually, it's been around your campfire in your yard.
Yeah,
You've
yeah,
had
yeah.
spooky ghost story.
I
nights.
love my
That's our
campfire
version.
ghost
Is we
story,
sit around
yeah.
Holly's campfire and do
Yeah,
it.
yeah, we do.
Yeah.
I love it. So a lot of weird things happened in this house. The first one that we noticed was the TV in our living room, and it was a very open floor plan house. So if you're in the kitchen, you're basically still in the living room, and it was very open floor plan. My family would be sitting at the kitchen table having dinner, and all of a sudden the TV would turn on, and we'd go and shut it off, go back to eating dinner, come right back on. It would do this every single day at different times of the day. And I'm not kidding. Not a day went by that this didn't happen.
It's not a TV with a timer on it or anything.
Nope.
It's too old.
No, because we had this TV at the house before and it never happened there.
Yeah.
We had this TV at the house after, because back then you'd have a TV for like 20 years.
Yes.
Right.
And it never happened at the house after. Like it only happened at this house. And my dad messed with all the settings. Can't explain it.
Tell the one about your
Yeah.
mom coming
So-
in and seeing somebody.
So that was like the
Yeah.
first thing that we started to notice, right? And then I had a pug, and he was very calm, very chill. He rarely barked, but he would at times stand in the middle of the living room, staring directly at something, and start growling and barking. And that he was the sweetest dog. He never did anything like that, but he would do that at random times. So at one time, my dad and I were sitting in the living room watching TV. My mom was at the kitchen table, and we had this big mirror that covered half the wall, and you could see the front door. So if you're sitting at the kitchen table, through the mirror, you can see the front door, right? And my dad and I are sitting there, and all of a sudden my mom goes, "Where did Adam go?" Adam's my brother. And we're like, "What are you talking about?" And she's like, "Where did Adam go?" And we're like, "He's not home." She's like, "No, I just saw him. He came in the front door." And we're like, "He's not home." And she's like, "No, I saw him come in the front door and go downstairs to his room." And sure enough, like she went down there, looked everywhere. We're like, no one came in the door. And my mom swears to this day she saw the white t-shirt, the jeans, she saw everything. It got weirder. I was in my room, and my brother and I shared a bathroom. It was right next to my room. My hairdryer came on, and I went and I was like, well, that's weird. Is Adam using my hairdryer? Like, what the fuck? I go in there. The light was off. I turned the light on, and the hairdryer shuts off. It wasn't even plugged in. That one got to me.
Okay.
My radio would turn on by itself. One day I came home from school. No one else was home. I walked in the front door, and from my bedroom downstairs, I have this doll that you pull a cord, and it's like, "Mommy, I'm sleepy."
Well, that's the creepiest shit right there.
As soon as I walked into the front door, that fucking doll goes off from my room. Never in my life. I still have that doll.
And that's like classic ghost shit right there. So
never in my life has that doll gone off by itself, except for in that house. And some other little stuff happened, but the last one that I really love, there is like this platform that goes downstairs, like from the front door. And that was a spot that always felt really weird to all of us. Can't really explain how. It just felt really strange. Like walking down the stairs felt weird. It always felt like you weren't alone. But if my mom was alone, or if I were alone, we would smell a really strong scent of cologne. Only of the two of us would smell it. So much so that we identified that it was Stetson. Like we could tell it was Stetson cologne. We figured out the scent only when we were by ourselves. Eventually we moved out of the house, and my parents had to stop back to talk to the new owners about some questions they had. And my mom was talking to the lady, and she was talking about how her dad had passed before they moved. And she was saying, you know, I miss him so much that sometimes I swear I can even smell his cologne. He always wore Stetson.
Classic.
Yep. And my mom was like, huh.
It's like, noted.
So yeah, I have more to it, but that's what I'm gonna tell for now.
Yeah.
But yeah, I lived in a haunted house.
Yeah. Sean, what about you? You got one?
Back in the house we used to live in back in like Ashton, Illinois, there was always my parents always felt it was one of those feelings where you always just certain times just felt like you're not alone, and when you turn, you like. And my mom would describe the same thing as well, that you see someone in a doorway who always, as soon as you look, they're moving out of the way. And you can play it up to tricks of the eyes or what have you, but we described the same thing.
Yep.
And me and my mom in the same house used to have the same dreams. We call them line dreams, where it was just a dream where it would start as a blank canvas and then lines, different colored lines would start showing up, and you just get more scared, more scared, more scared.
It's crazy.
And it's just weird things that, like, I talked about to my mom one day, and like the look on her face of shock.
Just go white.
Yeah, she's like, I have those same ones. So just weird stuff. But the one my mom always talks about is that they were, I think that they were buying, they bought a house, and so they were talking on the phone about closing the deal and everything, and my mom hangs up and they say, so looks like we got the house, looks like we're moving. And in this house they'd always kind of felt something there, and so she says, looks like we got the house, we're gonna move out. And they were in the bedroom, and the door to the bedroom, which was closed, opens up all the way and then closes. And my mom always talked about like that was the ghost leaving.
Oh my God.
Because they were leaving, the ghost was just like, all right, I'm gone. So just a full open, a full close.
Like they were roommates, and he's like,
right.
well, I guess I'm moving
if you guys
too.
are gone, yeah. And then that was it. And
Oh my gosh.
So that was the one that always stuck with me. There's also the one where, I just remember this one. My mother's grandma, Russian. At a certain point, she spoke English and everything, but she's from the old country.
Yeah.
And she, at a certain point in her old age, reverted back to just speaking. It was either Polish or Russian, but back to the old language. And there's one night there was a family gathering in their house, and she was a very old lady, probably in her 80s or 90s at this point. She didn't walk, hadn't for years. And at a certain point in this party, she got up, walked to her my mom's grandmother, her daughter, and she says, I don't want to be here anymore. There's something in this house. I need to leave. And, everyone chalked it up to old age and what have you and everything. Later on, they get pictures back from the party, and there's a picture, and very noticeably, there is a horrific face in the background.
Stop.
On the wall from that night.
Do you still have that picture?
I don't. And I begged my parents, I'm like, what happened to the picture? It's like, we had it. We promise. Many
Dude,
people
check your attic. It's going to be like Paranormal Activity. It's going to be right above your bed in the attic.
Probably. Yeah.
That's what happened to that picture in that movie.
And I've talked to other relatives who have said, yeah, we've seen the picture and we know what they're talking about. So it's a family thing. And, and it just like she felt it that night. And that story always scared the shit out of me. It's like, ooh, like there always felt like there was something there. But those are the best ones I got.
No, there is like an animal part of your brain that just like can sense danger. And even if it can't rationalize it. And I think what a lot of ghost content gets wrong, specifically like the ghost hunters and all those like reality shows, is like when it's happening to you in real time, you are like your brain is actively gaslighting you into like that's not a big deal as like a survival mechanism. Yeah. And so like it could happen to you and you might not process it right away. And I think that's not talked about enough, or like it scares you so much it puts you in shock.
My family didn't acknowledge that we lived in a haunted house till after we moved.
Right. Yeah.
Then you all talk about it. You just sit down when you're like, so we all lived in a haunted house, right?
No, that's what happened.
Then they admit it.
That is what happened.
Yeah, exactly.
So we were just like, we did not acknowledge it.
For 5 years, I lived between a Native American burial ground and an abandoned church.
Oh, boy.
And nothing happened at that
How
apartment.
are you alive?
Nothing happened. I was like, if there's a haunted place, it's like a lot of bad stuff's happened here. Like, and then I moved to a rental house that was in a nice neighborhood, and that house had the most dark energy. Like, I couldn't describe it. The animals were restless and not happy. Like, when cats are just kind of like always on edge because like that's how my cats always were there. The weird random things would break all the time in the house. The house had carpenter ants randomly. I've never that's something I have heard of happening but never experienced, and it's like what a random problem to have. But when I was first unemployed and living in that house, And then when I was working from home and I was home alone, Sean and I would too also see like, I called them wisps. Like I would see like black forms like out of the side of my eye. Or I'd see it like gather in the corner of the ceiling and the walls, you know, and it scared the shit out of me. And it just like, it was one of those things where I just have to tell myself like, don't acknowledge it. Like just pretend like you didn't see it. Especially because it was always when I was home alone and you could just like feel the dread and feel the unease.
And would you, and when I would have that, like I would see it and I'm like, I'm not looking over there.
Yeah. It's like,
I'm not gonna
fight.
look.
Yeah. But you feel like you're being looked at almost. You feel like that sensation of someone looking at you.
Yeah.
And I actually went to the doctor because I was convinced that I was developing schizophrenia because like when you have really severe schizophrenia, you start seeing hallucinations.
Right,
And at that point you have very bad schizophrenia. So of course my thought is like, holy shit, like it's happening now. I'm too far gone. So I went, I don't have schizophrenia. And so I have to believe it was a ghost because I don't have that specific mental illness.
This is a great moment. If you've ever seen the movie Inner Space, with Martin Short and everything. There's a part where Dennis Quaid is inside Martin Short's body, and to communicate with him, he eventually connects to his eardrum so that he can talk to him. And so, and Martin Short doesn't know what the fuck is going on, so he goes to the doctor. And at one point, he gets up. He's like, "I know what's wrong. I'm possessed." And it's the funniest shit. That's what that reminds me.
I experienced sleep paralysis for the first and only time.
Scary.
Only once. And it was like, it was right after I started seeing my therapist, and I went to her and I was like, what happened to me? Like, because I didn't know, because like I'd heard people describe it, but until you actually experience it, like you think it's just not being able to move, and it's so much more than that.
It's terrifying.
But that, like, if that's what being possessed or seeing a ghost is really like, you fucking keep it, because that shit was awful. Wouldn't wish sleep paralysis on anybody.
You can't tell what's real and what's it's horrifying.
There's a good documentary on sleep paralysis. I can't remember what it's called now, but
The Nightmare.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yes.
I like that one. Yeah,
that's all I got.
Colin, got anything?
This house is not haunted?
No, I mean, like, I'm sorry.
No, this house feels safe.
It does. This house does feel safe.
But I do remember.
there was a ghost.
There was a ghost. We won't talk about that, but yes.
And we had, there was a guy, Nick, if you remember, who was on the show. He, I don't know if he's a ghost hunter, but
he had a lot. Yeah,
when he was down here, would say, it's like, well, I saw something up there. So I don't know.
Yeah,
this house feels safe to me.
Okay.
Yeah, this house feels.
I'm cozy here.
All right. Well,
house starts shaking.
I know. I need a good ghost story. I can't even buy into the Saturday Night Freak Show Society.
No fan.
You can bring us
like
a ghost story,
Irish ghost stories or anything like that.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean,
your mom have any ghost stories? Ask her.
It was my mom did. She said something. Her mother used to be a nurse. Pardon me, and there was some experience that I think that she had when she was actually in the hospital. She remembers like a woman coming to the door, and I don't remember the specifics of it, but I remember in the story that woman like shouldn't have been there. It was
hospitals have all sorts of
experience.
Right. And this was in Ireland, right?
In Ireland.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
So,
where ghosts come from.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They're
all ghosts.
So
there you go. Our ghost stories.
There you go. That's our ghost stories. Yeah. On the ghost story episode 2 weeks ago, we watched a movie called Bone Tomahawk. Lucas Accardo wants us to know that S. Craig Zoller, that's the writer director of Bone Tomahawk, is also a comic book author who writes and illustrates. And he says, "I've read Hideous Dr. Divinus, and it's not bad at all."
Oh, cool.
There you
go. Talented guy.
Yeah.
Shane Mervin 77 says another one and done. He says it's a fantastic film, but I'll never sit through it again.
Yeah, I get that. There was a reason a lot of us hadn't seen it in like a decade.
Wait, which one? What is it?
Bone Tomahawk.
Oh yeah,
he said one and done.
One and done, fantastic, but I'll never sit through it again. Kill Your TV says Bone Tomahawk was a dope flick, so well done. The Bark Night podcast says, "I love this movie so damn much." Richard Krotzer says this movie is what we truly call a cult classic. It deserved to do so much better during its theatrical release. Did it get like a real theatrical release?
Not really.
It was like film festivals and then video.
Yeah, I think
it might have been like limited theater release, but
it's getting its due now.
Not a big one. Yeah.
Yeah.
So 4 weeks ago, then we watched The Substance.
Oh, wow.
Indeed.
Yes.
Which has not won the Oscar yet.
No.
Not
But
yet.
It's gaining
Oscars
steam.
haven't happened yet.
Demi Moore has won a Critics' Choice Award.
Yes.
And Leamy72 says, if you guys are fans, you need to check out or look up the movie The Rejuvenator from 1988. The original title was The Rejuvenatrix. The Substance is more or less an exact remake of this movie, even down to the monster at the end. It's so good. I'm surprised it didn't get recognized. And also the VHS cover is wild.
Okay.
The Rejuvenator.
Wow.
Thank you for
We're gonna
that
have to
tip.
look that up.
We're all adding it to our list.
Yeah.
We're like, what is this? The Rejuvenator.
Oh my God. The cover on IMDb
Let
is
me see that.
is
Right,
pretty. It is
Oh,
the
wow.
Substance. Yeah, they
I
weren't
do not
kidding.
remember that one. From the producer of Dead Time Stories.
Yes.
Ooh.
The Fountain of Youth for the Living Dead is the tagline.
Ooh, all right.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's
I
my
know.
list.
We gotta
Okay.
watch this.
Wow.
Well, thank you
Thank you
for
for
that
that.
Yeah.
suggestion.
Wonderful.
And thank you all for writing in. We really appreciate
We really do
it.
appreciate it.
Indeed.
Yeah, thank you.
And now the main event. We're going to go around the room and tell you what we thought of tonight's movie, Ghost Story, starting with
Michaela, what did you think of Ghost Story?
I loved the atmosphere, loved the acting, loved the cast. Really well loved, well crafted movie. It moved a little bit slower than I would have liked at certain parts, but it all came together nicely. Even if I agree the flashback went on for too long, but I still think it stuck the landing. I'm gonna recommend it. I had a good time watching it. Just don't confuse it with a ghost story because that's a different
Very
movie
different movie.
entirely.
Or
Very
there's
different
another
movie.
A
one.
lot more pie in that one.
Yeah.
There's another one called An Urban Ghost Story, which you really have to go searching for, but it's a British one.
Oh
yeah.
wow.
Okay.
Okay.
Anything with a ghost story.
Yes.
Yeah, that is
Yeah.
the most generic
Yes.
ghost movie.
This one should be called a sexy ghost story, as we talked about, because
Lots of ghost
a lady
stories.
Yeah.
ghost story.
a lady ghost story. There's a little bow on the title card.
Right, a
A
little
lady
pink
ghost
bow.
story,
Yeah, let's just, yeah.
How else do you know she's a girl if she
Right.
doesn't have a pink bow?
Yeah.
Recommend. Holly, what'd you think?
Yeah, no, this movie was my jam. Like it's the great like New England atmosphere. It's a ghost story. It's got a great cast of familiar faces. We've got a society of
Chowder.
chowder in, leather chairs and smoking jackets and
Love it.
It's a great atmosphere, and it kind of felt like an anthology, even though it was
didn't it?
it felt like an
did.
anthology, even though it's one cohesive story.
I thought it was going to be at the beginning with how the
too.
setup
Right.
went.
I was
Yeah.
like,
Oh, wait. There is that anthology, Ghost Stories. Have you seen that
Yeah.
one? Yeah, with
Okay, yeah.
Martin Campbell's in it, right?
Yeah, I thought it was going to be that it was going to be like each of these old guys telling a ghost story. But anyway, that's fine. It does slow down for me in the middle. I think there's a lot they could have cut out. But other than that, I mean, the effects were great. There was lots of really great spooky scares. I loved the melting ghost. That was great. It was an interesting story. And yeah, I liked the concept. I thought it was really great. I would recommend for sure. Sean, what'd you think?
Yep. Good story, good effects by Dick Smith. I like the actors are good. Editors are your friend. Employ them more in your long movies to cut some stuff down a little bit. But other than that, good to finally watch Ghost Story like this.
Yeah.
I mean, it's Ghost Story to me. It's just like it is. When you say Ghost Story, this is the one I think of. Even though I haven't seen it until tonight. Again, good to check it off the list. Yeah, it's really good. Again, all that atmosphere kind of really works for it. I think Alice Creek is doing like great work in this. Like she, again, watchable. Couldn't take my eyes off of her. Everyone's doing good. Yeah. Good movie. I recommend it. Love it. Colin, take us home.
Yeah, I mean, I have been enamored with this movie since I saw it. Like I said, I saw it as a kid, TV edit. They
Awesome.
deleted all the nudity, but I knew it was there.
Yeah.
And so it sticks in your head. And you're like, I'm going to search for that later.
Yeah.
I would have loved
yeah.
this as a kid. I
But-
think it would have traumatized me, but I would have loved it. Yeah.
It didn't though, because I guess as a kid, I wanted it to be scarier.
Right. And
You
that
know?
score, it kind of keeps it like,
Yeah, I remember going like, well, this isn't very scary. As a young person, over time, it's like, well, I understand, there's horror in the situations. And yes, there's moments that are very creepy. And the shock makeup effects, I think, are still, they're great. But yeah, it's, over time, it's like, it's the atmosphere, it's the story. I don't care that it is not like the book, right? I mean, as a standalone thing, I appreciate it, just for what it is, for the cast that was assembled, the acting that they do. Ghost stories, I suppose, are always about guilt.
Yeah, right.
And
unfinished business, the guilt.
Right. All the time. The ghost is always something that, you're guilty about. It's haunting you, and this is a pretty good one. I mean, I guess because, like I said, that the origin of the ghost stuck with me as a kid. I mean, I guess that, really was like, wow, that's some horrible stuff. And I understand why that would create a ghost. I do have a problem, like, as we were saying, with the Gregory Bate characters. I think you could lose that entire subplot.
Thank God they don't take up more space in this movie.
Seriously.
Yeah, or they needed to incorporate more, the stuff that they deleted from, from in the adaptation.
But I'm glad they didn't, because I feel like it wouldn't have been enough to make it worth it.
Yeah. So I would recommend Ghost Story. I think you need to see it. It's is it a classic? At this point, are we saying it's a classic? I mean, it is to me. Like, I think, like Sean said, when I think Ghost Story, this is the one I think of. But I'd say I grew up with it, so. But I would recommend it for sure.
Yeah. I do have to share one thing. When I saw the cover, I used to watch Ghost Hunters when it was like entertaining, like first few seasons. Like I went on a ghost hunt with the guys from the show, super fun.
Oh yeah.
But I have to show you the season 1 DVD of Ghost Hunters because it's just.
They're just going off of,
Wow.
It's identical.
There it is.
They ripped it off.
They know what they were doing.
I know, yeah. I've always, like, just this poster art.
Yeah, right.
It's all black, and it just says Ghost Story in white, and then there's a house with the moon behind it.
Yep.
I mean, it's almost like an icon, like less like poster art. It's just like an icon.
Well, this is why I know this is Ghost Story, because of this cover. It's so like
it's minimalist. It's perfect.
It's kind of perfect for it.
And Ghost Hunters ripped it off.
There you go. So thank you for listening to this extended episode. We hope you enjoyed our ghost stories. Next week, we're gonna watch a movie that's chosen by
Sean. What are we watching next week for your first pick of the year?
Guys.
Oh, no.
I need some Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Ooh, you do? Usually I'm the one that needs it.
No, I need some Jean-Claude Van Damme. And so I'm invoking a bylaw.
Oh, okay.
Oh, no. Come on. What?
Colin's having a fit.
We're watching Time Cop.
Again.
Sorry, Colin. No, it's 10 years ago. None of us were here but you. I'm invoking it.
All right.
I'm sorry.
Right.
We're watching
Them's the rules.
Time Cop again.
Sorry, these are the rules we all agreed upon.
We did agree.
And I forced upon you.
All right. So, Time Cop redo next week on the Saturday Night Freak Show. We hope you'll join us. And until then, ladies and germs, the basement is going dark.